Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back. Today's Daf is YOMA Samach Dalet. We begin at the 2 dots, 5 lines from the top of the Amud. Im shal Hashem meis zeh she'ola lav v'chulu. We have a pair of goats, Sar Lashem and La'azazel. One of them was mace. Mishnah tells us, you go ahead and you bring a new pair, a brand new pack. Why do you need a new pair? Because the only way to commit one to Lashem and La'azazel is by way of a geirol. So you need to bring a new pair, make a new geirol, designate Lashem and La'azazel. Now suppose the La'azazel was the one that was mace. So you bring a new pack. The new La'azazel will replace the old one. But now you're left with an extra animal. You have two potential Sar Lashem. You have the original one and the new one, the replacement. Which one do you use? We have a machlekes. Amarav Sheni Shebezug Rishon Yikariv. Use the second one of the first pair. The lone survivor of that original pack is the one that's going to be used. So you take that one, that's Sar Lashem, and you makriv it, and the extra one, the second Sar Lashem, is the one that's deemed to be extra. You not makriv it, you let it pasture, let it roam until it gets a mum, and you directly value towards the nidava as the Mishnah explained. So according to Rav, you're going to use the original carbon Lashem. Sheni shebezug sheni yira. However, the second one of the zug sheni, of the new pair, that's the one deemed unnecessary, and that's the one which will be yira. You let it roam until it gets a mum, etc. So that's Shitas Rav. Rabbi Yehuda Amar sheni shebezug rishon yira. He holds you don't use the original one. The second of the original pack, the survivor of the original pair, that's the one that's considered yira. You let it roam until it gets a mum, you sell it off, let it dava. Sheni shebezug sheni yikra. It's the second one of the new pack that you use as a Sar Lashem. So once again you have a Sar La'azazel, which was mace. You bring a new pair of goats. You apply Ha'agrola, this one's Lashem, this one's La'azazel. We have now a new La'azazel to replace the old one. We have an extra Lashem. Which one do we use? Rav says, use the original one. And the newcomer should be let to pasture and be sold off. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you meant to use the newcomer. And the original one is considered to be superfluous and is sent out to get a mum. Of course, the same applies if you have an extra La'azazel. Just give you an example. Says, well, what's this based on? What's this for? Rav Savar Bale Chaim Eino Nidachen. Rav says if you have an animal which at some point becomes unfit for hakrava, that condition does not become permanent. As soon as it becomes ro'i again, you can bounce back. You can get reinstated. And therefore, says Rav, the first Sar Lashem who lost his partner when that Sar La'azazel died, true, for the time being you could not use that Sar Lashem because he had no partner, but now you come back and you bring a new pair, and you bring a new La'azazel to replace the old one, you've teamed him up with another partner, and now he can use him. Ba'alei Chaim, living animals, Eino Nidachen, don't get pushed away permanently. Let's go over to Rashi, 5 lines from the top. Ein Nidachen, says Rashi, Im ir olahem shas psul, if some psul occurs with an animal, Adayin yichoylin litak, and they can still get reinstated, Kishi's davik lo yachar, and he gets another partner. You don't say, well, once it's been pushed away, too bad, it takes on a permanent state. No. Yeah, that's only applied if it's a shachat. Let's say the Sar La'azazel would have been mace when the Sar Lashem was already nishchat, so it's not a balchai that you have there. It's just a dam in a container. Well, then you say, once it becomes nitcha, it loses its hakrava eligibility. But when we speak about a balchai is a living being. He has the ability to bounce right back from adversity, even though for the time being he was not right for hakrava because he had no partner to team up with. But once you've replaced his partner, he comes right back into it. He's back in service. Continues the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Savar Baalei Chai Midochen. He holds that even a Baal Chai can get pushed away, which means the original Karban Hashem, when he lost his partner, he became pasul because he had no la'azazel to team up with. Once he got that psul takes on a permanent nature, and it's like you have one shot at getting nikra v'adam mizbeach. Once he lost that chance, the animal is called a dachi, and even a Baal Chai, says Rabbi Yochanan, can become nidach, in which case the original Hashem is no longer useful. Rather, says Rabbi Yochanan, this new pair, L'Hashem L'Azazel, will be used, and the original one will go l'Re'iyah. So again, you have a Sar L'Azazel, which was mace. You need to bring a replacement, and therefore you bring a new pair of goats, make a hagrola. Now you have L'Azazel to replace the old one. You have an extra L'Hashem. Which one do you use? Rav says, use the original one. Baalei Chaim eino nidachin. Original one is still kosher. Rabbi Yehuda says, you have to use the new one, because the original one lost its akrava eligibility. Says, well, my time with the Rav. Okay, we understand. It's based on this shaila, whether it's nidach or not. What's that based on? My time with the Rav, that a Baal Chai can never become pushed away permanently. The Yolaf Mechusar Zman, he learns it from the halacha of an underage animal. Until 8 days old, you cannot be makar of the animal. Still, what do we learn? Mechusar Zman, over there, lav afagav dahashta, lichaz, even though currently he's not roy fa'akrava when he's only 5 days old. Ki hadar mersi shaper dami, but as soon as he hits 8 days old, he becomes roy. We don't say, well, since he was unfit for akrava when he was underage, that dichui takes effect and affects him permanently. No, he bounces right back. As soon as he hits 8 days old, he becomes roy. Ki hadar mersi, as soon as he becomes roy, shaper dami, he's roy for akrava. Hachanami here as well, loishna, no difference. So although the Sar Hashem lost his suitability for akrava temporarily, you don't say that affects him permanently. As soon as he gets a companion, he becomes roy l'akrava again. Midami, says the Gemara, you couldn't compare. Hasam leis chazik klal, by the Mechusar Zman, he was never roy l'akrava. Say the Rishonim, it says though he was never magdashit, because until he's 8 days old, he's not even an eligible candidate for akrava. So sure, as soon as he becomes roy, that's his first shot at it. That's his first opportunity to become roy, to become a carbon. As opposed to our case, Nira, he was roy at some point, and then got pushed away, perhaps. That dichoy affects him permanently. He lost his opportunity, he lost his chance. You can't bring it right from Mechusar Zman, who never had a chance for akrava. Elohainu time of the Rav, rather, this is the makar of Rav, that a Baal Chai does not become nitcha. The Yolaf mi Baal Mum Oiver. He will derive from a temporary mum. An animal which gets a temporary mum. What happens then? He's not roy, but as soon as he loses that mum, as soon as that mum passes, he becomes roy again. Baal Mum Oiver. Even though currently he's not chazi, he's not roy when he has a mum. However, ki hadar mersi shaper dami. As soon as that mum passes and he becomes roy again, that's okay. Hachanami here as well. Loishna, there's no difference. We learn from there that a Baal Chai is resilient. He can bounce right back from adversity, even though temporarily speaking, he was not roy. As soon as that impediment goes away, he becomes roy. Again, we learn from there, Baalei Chaim eino nidach, and therefore Rav says, go ahead and use the first Sa'il Hashem. Well, how do you know that to be true by Baal Mum? T'chsiv, ki moshchasam bahem mum bam. And we learn from there, mum bam, hudelo yiratz. Dafka when the mum is present in the animal, then it cannot be used. Ha'avar muman yiratz. As soon as the mum passes, the animal is roy l'akrava. And therefore we apply it to all other types of psulim. We say it only affects the animal for the time being, but not for the long term. Now Rabbi Yehuda disagreed. Right? He held it. Once the Baal Chai loses his akrava status, he cannot regain it. So what does he do with this pasuk of Baal Mum? Rabbi Yochanan miyut rachmana bahem. Exactly the opposite, says Rabbi Yochanan. I have a miyut. In that very parasha Balmum, it says Kimashchasam bahem, which tells us, yeah, this is unique to Balmum. Heim hudechi avar mum and yiratzu. Only by a Balmum do we say once the mum passes, it becomes roi again. But we make a deal. We infer from there hakol dechuyin. But when it comes to other scenarios of being unfit, hoyo v'nitchu yitchu. As soon as the animal becomes unfit, nitchu, they get pushed away. And therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says by us on Yom Kippur, don't use the original one, which became unfit at a certain point. He lost his opportunity for akrava. You can no longer use him. V'Rab, what does Rav do with his diak of bahem? Hahu bahem is coming to tell you be'enai Yehud lo mirzu. You cannot be makir with balmum on its own. Ha'alei taroivos mirzu. But suppose the mum is mixed with others. Suppose you have a varim of a behema ba'almum mixed in with non-ba'almum avarim. You can bring him on the mizbech minat Torah. Perhaps it's based on what we learned yesterday, that the psul of ba'almum is because it's ma'is. It's incomplete. It's a blemish. It doesn't look. It's not covered to bring it to the mizbeach. That's only if it's a hakrava directed specifically at this balmum. But if he's mixed in with others, it's one masa hakrava on the other ones together with the balmum. That's okay. And we learn this from a pasuk. This pasuk, kimashchasam bahem mumbam. Only if it's be'inayu bahem. But if it's mixed in with others, then it's okay. Kedisnan, as you learned in the Mishnah. Eivarim tamimim. Suppose you have limbs of a carbon which was a tum, a non-blemished animal, be'eivarim balimum, together with a varim of a balmum. They have a mixture. Many heads of behemoths, of karbonis. One hails from a balmum, the other one's from tumim. Rabbi Lezer Eimer, im karev harosh shelechad mehem. If suppose one of the heads was already karev, it's after the fact. Now you're no longer dealing with a issa daraisa, because the whole tarovis was only mut asim d'Rabbanan, as we said. In Torah, you can only you can be makir the balmum once he's mixed in. It's only the Rabbanan not meant to, but says Rabbi Lezer, once the roish of echad mehem, once one of the heads was already brought in the mizbeach, so we're dealing with a savik d'Rabbanan. The whole issa of makir tarovis is d'Rabbanan. And since one of the Roshim was already brought in the mizbeach, it can be soymich lekula. You can assume that perhaps that was the Baal Mum, which was already taken out, and now the rest is fine. Which allows you to bring the rest of the Roshim on the mizbeach. Likewise, krav shlechad mem, you have a bunch of legs mixed together, and one is the Baal Mum, and the rest are the Tmimim. And one of the legs was already brought in the mizbeach, one leg or one set of legs. This allows you to be makar the rest of the kra'ayim, assuming that the one that was already brought, was taken out of the pack, was the balmum, in which case, even mid rabbanan, there's nothing to hold you back from being makar. No, they hold we're not meant to rely on this type of suffix, although you're right, it's a taroivis, not Torah, it's mutter, the rabbanan not meant to, and even in this case, afilu karva kulan, even if all the heads already brought in the mizbech, except for just one. You can't assume anything. Yetil beis hashrefi, you go out and you burn it in the beis hashrefi, you don't take it to the mizbech. In any case, we see that all shittas agree, minat Torah, a balmum is only asur be'ayin, intact, but if it's mixed in with others, there's no isser, and that's learned from the pasuk, shemashchasam ba'ahem, has to be seen, intact, visible. V'idach, has Rabbi Yochanan know this halach? He already used this pasuk. It's unavailable for this drasha. Nafkele mi bam bahem. Pasuk could have said ki mashchasam bam. Why bahem? To tell you this additional halacha that if it's aydei tarovis it's mutter. V'idach and Rav bam bahem lidarish. He doesn't apply the bahem for a drasha. So the way Tosfos sums it up, according to Rabbi Yehuda, we now have three drashas from this pasuk. Firstly, that a mum is only a problem while it's in their animal, while it's present. But once the mum passes, it's okay. We also learn from there, Bahem, that this only applies, this kula, only applies to Balmum, but when it comes to other psulim, the effect remains there permanently. And finally, Bam Bahem tells you only Be'en, but a Balmum Aydit Harayvis is mutter. So this explains the machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yehuda. We had a pair of goats. For instance, the Azazel was mace. You brought a new pair of goats. You applied a hagrola to them, and you committed one Hashem, one Azazel. The Azazel will replace the one that went missing. Now you have a choice of two animals which are both Hashem. You have the original one and the substitute. According to Rab, you go back to the original one. You use that one. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you use the replacement. So you use the new pack, the newcomers, the Hashem and the Azazel of the new pack, and you don't use the old one. And the Gemara tells us it's based on the shaila of whether a Ba'alei Chayim Nidachin. Rabbi Yehuda says once a Baal Chai assumes some sort of psul and becomes ineligible for avodim, that psul remains intact everywhere except for by Balmum. And therefore, you cannot use the original Hashem, which became unsuitable for avodah when he lost his partner. Rather, you have to go over to the new pack and use them. According to Rav, use the original one because Ba'alei Chayim ein nidachin. Just because, for the time being, he was not roy la'avodah because he lost his partner, but now you replace his partner. You brought a new Lazazel into the picture. So now the original Hashem is back in action. Says the Gemara, okay, then you understand why you're allowed to use the original one. But why do you insist? Why does Rav insist on going back to the original Hashem? Ularav, nihi nami de Ba'alei Chayim ein nidach. Understand that a Baal Chai doesn't become pushed away. But still, he should have a choice. If he wants to use this one, Nakrib, let him use it. If he wants to use the new one, Nakrib, let him use that one. Why do you insist on using the original one? Amarava, Rav Saval Rabbi Yossi, Damar Mitzvah Berishin. Rav follows Rabbi Yossi's Shita. He meant to use the first one set aside for this purpose. That has first privilege. It's a mitzvah to use that first one. Don't override that first one. So although technically the original and the substitute are both of equal value, they're equal candidates for the jobs, but it's a mitzvah to use the first one. Hi Rabbi Yossi, where do we find this Rabbi Yossi? Name of Rabbi Yossi the Kupos. Is it Rabbi Yossi? From that Mishnah in Shkolim describing the containers of Machzis HaShekel coins, this nan, Shalosh Kupos, Shalosh Sein. After the chamber was full of Machzis HaShekel coins, the Gizra would approach the Lishka with containers. 3 containers, each one with a 3 se'ah capacity, with which he will perform Trumas Halishka. So it was Shalish Kubais, 3 containers, Shalish in, each one with a 3 se'ah capacity, Shabahen Terminus Halishka, which were used for Trumas Halishka, because of Alein, on which were written, they were labeled, Aleph, Beis Gimel. Vitanya, on Rabbi Yossi, Loma Ksasav Alein, Aleph Beis Gimel. What's the point of labeling them? Leda, Eiz Mehen Nitrum Rishon, to know which container was filled first. Lahavi Heimen Rishon. This way you'll know that you meant to use that first. Shem Mitzvah Barishon. It's a mitzvah to use the first, the one that became available first. For the mitzvah, that's the one to be used first. Here as well, says the Gemara, you meant to go back to the original Sar Hashem, Mitzvah Barishon. Do Mashani Hasam, says the Gemara, perhaps. There's a big difference. Over there, by the Machzis HaShekel coins, sure, you meant to use the first one. You know why? The Be'id Nadis Chazik HaMaisa. Because when the first container became eligible for use, meaning, when he filled that first container, the other ones were as of yet empty, unfilled containers, of course. The content of that first container gets first privilege. The be'idna dis chazik hamais lo is chazik basraisa. The other ones were not yet right; they were empty containers. As opposed to our case, where, for instance, you had a pair of goats, and you lost the Lazazel. He was mace. At that point, the Sir Hashem, the survivor of that group, is not right anymore. He needs to wait until he's shored up, until he's given another companion. So you bring a new pair of goats. You apply a new hagrola. And now you have a Sar Azazel to replace the old one. But now you also have two Sar Hashems who are of equal value. They both are roy for the same thing, and they've both been activated at the same moment. Right? They've both been activated to be used as Sar Hashem simultaneously. The original one was no longer roy until you came along with a new group. Once you presented the new group, you have two Sar Hashems standing together at the same time, each one being an equal candidate for the job. So it's different than the filling of the coins, where when you fill that first container, at that point, stop right here. Is there anything else competing with it? Of course not. The other ones are empty. So of course there's a mitzvah to use this one. This one has become committed first. Why shouldn't you use it first? But when it comes to the Sar Hashem, he wasn't right any longer until you came along with the new Sar Hashem, and now you have two standing in front of you, which have been activated at the very same moment. So why would you prefer the first over the second? You can't compare it to the Machzah Shekel. So why? So why does Rav insist on using the original one? El Rabbi Yossi the Pesach. We found another Rabbi Yossi, Bakar Pesach, which is quite similar to our case. The Sanya. Hamafresh Pischa v'Avad. He was Mafresh Karm Pesach, went missing. V'Ifresh Achat Tachtov. And he designated another one as a backup. And of course, the first one was discovered. And now comes Chatzois and Erev Pesach, which is Zman Shchita. What do you have? Shnei Noimdois. Both of them standing in front of you. Which one should you use? The original or the substitute? Ezem and Shir to Yakrev, Yikrav. He can choose whichever one he wants. Divrei Chachamim. Rabbi Yossi, Aymer Mitzvah Barishain. Use the first one. If the second one was higher quality than the first one, use the second one. Now this is strikingly similar to our case, because, true, he had designated the original one first, but what good is the animal if it's not yet the time for Shechita? It's Chatzois Erev Pesach, which sets the tone, which activates the carbon. At that point, how many did he have? He had two. The original and the backup. Still, what does Rabbi Yossi say? Mitzvah Barishan. Go back to the original one. That's the one you designated first. You mafresh that first. You're committed to that first. That one gets first privilege. Here as well, says the Gemara, you have a choice which Sar Hashem to use. Rav follows Rabbi Yossi, says Mitzvah Barishan. Okay, so in summary, we have a choice of the original Sar Hashem or the newcomer. Rav says go back to the original one. Balachayim and Nidachin, Mitzvah Barishan. Rabbi Yechon says take the second one, because the first one was Nidcha. It's been pushed away, pushed out of the job once he lost his partner, and he doesn't regain that position. Balachayim Nidachin. And this is really based on a Shaila how to learn the Psukim by Balmum, where we learn that a mum only affects an animal temporarily. Rab says, Hu hadin to other psulim. Rabbi Yechon says, no, we have a miyut. It's dafka by bal mum. Perhaps a mum is something relatively external. It's not something which affects the actual animal. So as long as it's there, fine. When it's gone, the animal reverts back to kashrus. But when it comes to other psulim, such as halachic psulim, as being nitcha, because he lost his partner, then we say that remains throughout. He doesn't regain his former glory. You can no longer use the first animal. You have to use the newcomer, the new pack entirely, the Lashem and Azazel of the new pack. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rava, Daika Mas Nisan Kavasei Rav. If you take a close look at our Mishnah, beginning of this parak, you will see that it conforms with Rav's Shita. He meant to use the original animal. Ubraisa, says the Gemara, Kavasei Rabbi Yechon. We actually have a Braisa which supports Rabbi Yechon's version of things. He meant to use the newcomer. Mas Nisan Kavasei Rav. What do we see that our Mishnah follows Rav? Very simply. The Ktani, the Mishnah says, so he lost an animal, and he brings a new group, and he does a hagrola, and the Mishnah says, Im shel Hashemes. If what happened was that the Sar Hashem died, so now he has a replacement for that. Zeh she'ola olav hagar Hashem iskayim tachtov. He's going to say, the Kohen will say when he does the Agrola, that the one which will acquire the Gerel Hashem, the animal on which the Gerel Hashem will now land, his Kaim Tachtav will take the place of the missing Lashem. That's it. But the other one, meaning the lone surviving member of the original pack, which in this case is the Yisrael Azazel, just remains in place. Kadikai does not need anyone to replace him. It's pretty apparent that he's fine. He's fine to continue the job. The right to Rav. You're not meant to go to the new one. You're meant to go back and use the original one. Let's go over to Rashi on top. He's Kaim Tachtav. He only needs to substitute the one that died. But for the sole surviving member of the original pack, he doesn't need to issue a substitute. That the original one is pasul, and go ahead and use the newcomer. There's a right to Rav that you go ahead and use the original one. Continues the Gemara. Brisa, we have a Brisa actually which supports Rabbi Yechna. Because now the Mishnah tells us that now you have an extra animal, right? Suppose the Lazazel died. You have a surviving Lashem. You have to bring a new pair, do Hagrola, which lands you an extra Lashem. So what happens to the leftover animal? Mishnah says the Sheni, the leftover one, the unneeded one, will be left to pasture, Yirachi Yistoiv, get a mum, and sell it off for Netava. This is the Shittas Chachamim. Of course, Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says an extra chatos, even if it's a chatos tzivur, this is one of the chamesh chatos hameisais. Halacha Meshemesina tells us it's left to die. Kama says the chatos tzivur never dies. Rabbi Yehuda says it does. In any case, we're speaking about that leftover animal. So Tanakama says Yirachi Yistoiv, and you send it off to the Ndava. That applies to the Sheni, right? The leftover one, the second one. Now the Brisa will seek to explain the term Sheni. Which one is it? So again, Brisa, Rabbi Yechon, we're going to have a Brisa in support of Rabbi Yechon, that when you're left with a choice, use the original or use the newcomer, you use the newcomer. The Tana, because the Brisa, in explaining the Mishnah, goes like this. Sheni, we speak about the Sheni, the leftover one, the second one, which is going to be left to pasture, sell off to an Adava. Eini Edeya, I'm not sure. Which one is this? What do you mean Sheni? It's an undefined term. Im Sheni Shebazug Rishon. Is it the second one of the original pair, the surviving member of the original pack? Is that the one that's left unused and left to pasture? Im Sheni Shebazug Sheni. Or rather, is it the second of the new pair that's going to be left unused and left to pasture? Basically, which one are you using? Which one are you leaving over? So we're not sure. Says the Brisa. I'll explain it to you. Based on a pasuk. Keshu oimer yo'amad chai. And the pasuk speaks about the Sora Mishtaleach being positioned alive. We learn from there, yo'amad chai v'loi shechaver meis. You cannot use the animal whose partner died. Meaning, you cannot use the lone survivor of the original pack. Rather, you're going to use a new pair. Now, where do we see this in the pasuk? My mashma. How do you see this pshat in the pasuk? Explains the Gemara. The drasha works like this: Yomad Chai. You meant to go ahead and stand them up alive. Position the Sar Lazazel Chai. One time. That's it. You do this once. As opposed to a case where he was already positioned in this manner. Meaning, you don't use the original one who already went through this process. You get one chance at it, one shot at being Yom Chai. And therefore the Brisa says, Evidently, the pasuk is telling you not to use the surviving member of the original pack who already went through this YOMA procedure. Now we're speaking that the Sar Hashem died this time, and the Sar Azazel remained intact. He was already Yom Chai, and then his friend died. You go bring a new pair, do Hagrola, and the Sar Hashem, the new one, will replace the old one. Now you have a choice of two Sar Azazels. The original one, who already was Yom Chai, he already went through that process, and you have the new one, the newcomer here. Says the Brisa, which one should you use? The new one. Because the other one has already been used up. When there's on a pasuk. Yom Chai. Amad. You have to take the Sar Azazel, position him alive, corresponding to Hashem, as opposed to the old one, the original one, who already went through this process once before his companion died, and now you want to reposition him again. You can't do that. It's too late. So this price is supposed to be Rabbi Yehuda. You go ahead and use the new pair, and disregard the original one. That's the one that's going to be left to pasture, sold off in a dava. Okay, now let's go back to our Mishnah. I think Mishnah is going to be mashma, like one shita or the other. Tanan. The Mishnah says like this: V'oid Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda disagreed firstly on the contention of the Tanakama that Achatas Tzibur is never Mesa. So even though it's unneeded, it's unnecessary, the Tanakama says Achatas Tzibur is never Mesa. Rather, you let it pasture, get a mum, and sell it off. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says, no, Chatas Tzibur is Mesa. Then the Mishnah continues. V'oid Amar Rabbi Yehuda, in addition, says Rabbi Yehuda, Nishbach Hadam. Suppose you have the dam of the Sar Hashem in a container and goes missing, gets spilled out. What happens now? Yomos HaMishtalech. The Sar Azazel is standing, healthy and alive. Yomos HaMishtalech. He has to be left to die. Why? Apparently Rabbi Yehuda holds, once he lost his partner, he becomes unfit for Avodah, and he becomes Nitcha, even though he's a Baal Chai. He can no longer be used. Rather, you bring a new pair of Seirim, a new Hagrola, and use them. And Rabbi Yehuda continues. Next part isn't really sort of relevant for this sugya. If the Sar Mishtalech happens to die, and the dam is in a container, you go ahead and you have to spill out the dam of the Hashem because he's missing his partner as well. The Gemara later will discuss this aspect of Rabbi Yehuda's statement. But what pertains to us is the first part of his statement. Nishbach Adam Yomas HaMishtaleach. If the dam of the Sar Hashem gets spilled out, you have to go ahead and do away with the Sar Mishtalech because he becomes Nitcha, even though he's a Baal Chai. Now, this works according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says Baal Chaim Nidachem. Once they lose their Akrava status, that remains permanently. He can no longer be used. You have to reintroduce a new group. So Bishlam Rabbi Yehuda, Damar Baal Chaim Nidachem. According to him, I understand. That explains Rabbi Yehuda's din. If the dam of the Hashem is Nishbach, Yomas HaMishtalech, because he lost his partner. And he can never be used any further. He becomes an Nitche. Rav, Damar Baal Chaim Eina Nidachin. We're according to Rav Shit, that a Baal Chaim never loses his Hakrava eligibility permanently. He can always bounce back. In this case, as soon as he gets a new partner, he's back in service. Why did Rabbi Yehuda maintain that if the dam of the Lashem is Nishbach, Yomas HaMishtalech? Why? Go ahead and get him a new partner and press him back into service. Rav responds, you're right. I wasn't referring to Rabbi Yehuda's sheet. Of course, he holds Baal Chaim Nidachem. I was speaking about the Chachamim sheet. Ali with Rabbi Yehuda loy kamina. I wasn't discussing Rabbi Yehuda's shita. Ki amina Ali with Rabbanan. I was discussing Rabbanan's shita. I understand that Rabbi Yehuda holds Baal Chaim Nidachem. In fact, he takes issue with the Chachamim on two accounts. Firstly, he holds that a Chatas Tzibur is Mesa, and V'oid, not only that, he holds Baal Chaim on Nidachem, as opposed to the Rabbanan, who disagree on both accounts. A Chatas Tzibur is never Mesa, and also a Baal Chai is resilient, always bounces back, never will lose his Akrava eligibility for long term. So according to Rav, this very point is indeed a machlekes between Rabbanon who hold Balei Chaim ein nidachin, and therefore go back and use the original one. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says Balei Chaim, yes, nidachin. You can't use the original one. You have to use the new group. Whereas according to Rabbi Yochanan, all shittas, whether Rabbi Yehuda or the Rabbanon agree, Balei Chaim nidachin, and you can't use the original Lashem or Lazazel. You have to go ahead and use the newcomer. Concludes the Gemara. So I understand that according to Rav B'Hab Pligi, Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanon, this very discussion is actually the point of machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanon. El Rabbi Yechon my Pligi, but according to Rabbi Yechon, who holds that all agree, Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanon all agree, Balei Chaim anidachin, you can never go back to the original one. Rather use the newcomer. But my Pligi. So what's the point of machlekes here? And it's pretty evident in the wording of the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda is coming to be chaylik on two things. A, I hold a chatas tzibur's mesa, okay, and v'oid. In addition, says Rabbi Yehuda, I'm chaylik on another point. And he expresses it. He says, if the dam of the Lashem was nishpach, YOMA hamishtaleyach, the Yisrael Azazel has to die, which indicates that that's a point of contention between Rabbi Yehuda, who says the Mishtalech has to be maced because he's a Baal Chai which was nidach, and he's apparently in disagreement with somebody, with the Rabbanon hold, no, Baal Chai never becomes nidach. Even if nishpach adam, just get him a partner, get him a nul Hashem. Don't discard of the Yisrael Azazel. So it's pretty evident from the wording of Rabbi Yehuda. The wording of the Mishnah indicates that there's a machlekes here between Rabbi Yehuda who says Balei Chaim nidachin like Rabbi Yochanan, and Tanakama who disagrees, who holds no, Balei Chaim are not nidachin. Just go back and use the original one when he's roi again. El Rabbi Yochanan my pligi. According to Rabbi Yochanan, that all shittas hold that Balei Chaim are nidachin, and you cannot use the original one. So what's the machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon? There's no machlekes. It's agreed upon by all. So no, you're right. Haven't we just said? I'm a Rava. Hamina, we just said earlier. Daika masnis kavei the Rav. In fact, our Mishnah supports Rav's approach to things. Right? That's how we started the Amid. Daika masnis kavei the Rav. If you take a close look at our Mishnah, indeed, it seems to follow Rav's approach. That, according to Chachamim, Balei Chaim eino nidachin. Use the original one. Rabbi Yehuda holds Balei Chaim nidachin, in which case the original one is no longer fit. Rather, you have to go ahead and use the newcomers. Okay, let's just review briefly today's main points. We had a pair of goats, Shnei Seirim, one Lashem, one Lazazel, and one of them was mace. Let's say the Yisrael Azazel was mace. You bring a new pair of goats because you cannot be kirei shem without a hagrala. Hagrala requires a pair. And now you've committed one Hashem, one Azazel. So Azazel replaced the old Azazel. But now you're left with two Yisrael Hashems on your hand. What do you do? Which one do you use? Now it's pasha that the one that's going to be remaining, the sheni, whichever one that is, according to the Tanakam, will be left to pasture to get a mum and be sold off l'nadava. According to Rabbi Yehuda, however, we say this chatas which is unneeded goes l'mis. The shaila simply is which one is what? Which one do you use and which one is left over? Of machlekes, Rav says go back to the original one. Balei Chaim eino nidachin, even though he temporarily lost hakrava status, he bounces right back as soon as he gets a partner. We learn this from Baal Mum, where as soon as the mum passes, the animal is once again roy like krava. In fact, he says it's a mitzvah to use the first one. According to Rabbi Yossi, we see by Karban Pesach, you meant to use the first one. Actually, Rabbi Yossi says if the second one was mufkar, use the second one. Tosfos has a suffix. He says, not sure if it applies here, because here we're speaking about the Seirim, which either going to be sent out to the midbar or going to be burnt out of the machne. It's not going to be eaten. So it's a shay on Tosfos whether we say that quality plays a role. Interesting shay of Tosfos. In any case, typically, suppose both animals are of equal value, equal quality, which they're really meant to be, right? They're supposed to be shavim, supposed to be identical. So Rav says, mitzvah rishon, use the first one. In fact, the Gemara concludes, this point is actually a machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon. Right? According to the Rabbanon, Balachayim Ein Nidachin, use the first one. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Balachayim Nidachin, he meant to use the newcomer. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says, according to all Shittos, go ahead and use the new one, Balachayim Nidachin. You can't learn from Baal Mum. There's a special miyot there. Only a mum is something which can pass, but not other types of sulim. Once the animal lost its chance for akrava, it's a one-time chance, does not regain it. Therefore, he says you cannot use the original one, you have to use the newcomer, and the original one is not roy l'akrava. We'll conclude we have a raya from the Mishnah to Rav, where we see that the Rabbanon hold Balachayim Einan Nidach and use the original one, and we actually have a brisa in support of Rabbi Yehuda. They meant to use the newcomer to the scene. Kol tov to you.